Ladies and gentlemen, for the final panel of Armadacon 30, that feeling of deja vu from the first thing this morning, I give you David Wake.
I did the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy panel this morning and had so many conversations about the Hitchhiker's Guide, and I feel fully prepared to do that panel properly. Unfortunately, I have not thought about genre in the slightest.
Well, apart from the Hitchhiker's genre.
But one of the questions was Hitchhiker's philosophy or comedy or science fiction?
Yeah.
And I hope in some way to confuse you so much about the genre that you'll be left not knowing a clue what's going on. Am I alright doing it from here? I'm not, I remember my notes. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, right. The important thing about doing talks is to do this with notes in a font you can read. So, genre. First of all, well, the final refuge of being competent is to go for a dictionary definition of what genre is. So I shall read that out to you so you're all aware of what it is. Genre, noun, is a set of shelves in Waterstones that you can find a certain type of book. Or hope to find a certain type of book. And I think in an odd way, that is it, isn't it? There's a certain type of book you know in your bones, what you want to look at and read, what you like. And you kind of know it when you see it, don't you? Do you think? So why have I been chosen to do a talk on this? I'm a science fiction writer. I've written fairy tales, steampunk, political thrillers, etc., etc. Bloke Lit is one of mine.
What is bloke lit?
Like chiclet only.
Less.
You know it when you see it.
Listen.
More doing than the palm. Let's choose.
At an Eastercon once, they had a chance for you to test out your first chapter of a novel with an editor, a professional editor who's going to do a critique of it. And I said, look, I don't actually want first chapter of my novel critiqued or anything, so I want careers advice. Can I lay out my portfolio in front of you and say, what do I do? And the editor looked at everything I did and said, well, you're quite an eclectic writer, right? And that publishers have a problem with eclectic writers. They like people to write exactly the same book that they wrote last time, only different. And I said, well, you know, I'll keep submitting stuff. And then whatever book gets accepted first, that's the kind of writer I am. If science fiction gets accepted first, I'm a science fiction writer. Steampunk gets accepted first, I'll be a steampunk writer for the rest of my life. Like Douglas Adams, not doing room, not allowed to do anything else. And then I discovered independent publishing with a colleague of mine. We wrote a book together on independent publishing and comic. Not irrelevant, but I pointed him out of this. And he introduced me to independent publishing, which meant I could publish anything I wanted to do. So I could be an eclectic writer. Now I have to market myself, and I realise why traditional publishers like to pigeonhole writers. It's very difficult to sell yourself when every book is kind of different from the previous one. That's a heck of a range. You know, what sort of writer am I? Confused, probably. But then, of course, you're all eclectic readers, aren't you? You probably, I mean, is there anybody in this audience who only reads one type of book?
Close.
Close, okay, close.
Almost exclusively sci-fi. The only fantasy I ever read really was Discworld or Killer.
But do you read crime?
No.
Non-fiction?
Textbooks.
Yeah, I've just read a book about making 2001, but
That's not really a wide range, is it? Well, apart from, well, here's the exception that proves the rule.
One sort of book is whatever happens to be in bathroom at the time.
That's what to do, yes. So, let's examine the question of genre by looking at one of the finest examples in the field, which is Cowboys and Aliens.
Oops.
Cowboy's name is clearly a Western, isn't it? It is absolutely a Western, nothing else but a Western. That's all it is. But it's also science fiction and a horror piece. So I know there's that science fiction horror, got aliens. There's a romance in it. So it's clearly a romance. Chick lit, maybe, one would say. And of course, the ending doesn't make any sense. So it's literary fiction.
The ending doesn't make any sense, but it's fun.
So there you go. It's a problem with some things to define them. We really, really should have put a slide in here about Shakespeare. Because back in his day, it was historical fiction, tragedy, or comedy, and then he invented problem plays. Two things going on at the same time. You've got Hamlet and some jokes.
I do have to ask one question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Cowboys and Aliens was a flop, but The Valley of Granji was a success, but they both had fantasy or sci-fi elements.
So what, you're arguing for a genre called flop?
No, you got two similar based films, i.e. westerns, sci-fi, fantasy. One succeeds, one's fail. What is the delineating factor that makes something good and something bad?
That is an excellent question. Moving swiftly on.
Look at all the films on Robin Hood.
I would come back to that and say, genre, we're just talking here about definitions.
Yeah.
No, we're not. I can answer your question.
Go for it.
I've even got a slide for it. Can I park that question?
Okay,
Just
fine.
to the end? Right.
Sorry.
So this has been a problem for ages. I wondered how other people can approach this. And Mark Kermode did his Secrets of Cinema recently. He went through five different things. These were for rom-com, the heist, the coming of age, science fiction, and horror. And those were the five different genres that he studied, and of course there are others, it's not an exhaustive list. And I watched these, I thought very good, but there was one of them which was disappointing. Science fiction, to my mind, didn't work. And I do want to come on to why that episode was less satisfying than the others. And I was chatting to my mate Andy Conway, and he lectures on screenwriting. And he was just about to deliver his module on genre. So I nicked his slides. So I now need to wear his hat. Andy is a writer who wears a hat the whole time. So to delineate his slides from mine, I'll put a hat on. No, I won't. His slides all have an orange background.
Except for that bloody elephant.
Yeah, and my slides have unnecessary animation. It's easy to tell them apart. Credit where credit's due. Please pay attention to this slide. This obviously tells you how you're going to be assessed by this at the end of the talk. So 20 pages of script, 1,500 critical reflection, and 1 page script by Friday the 4th of January. But can I draw your attention to Thursday the 13th of December, where you have to do a picture, whatever that is, presentation. I suspect that's the one people are going to lose marks on.
Yeah.
Because the lecturer doesn't know what it is.
It's a Pokemon.
It's a Pokemon. Right. Not in shadow puppets, but a Pokemon. So, the downside of this talk is you're going to be seriously assessed. And he came up with this. Genre is a set of conventions that shapes the telling of the story, and so do. Produces a film, he's a scriptwriter, so obviously everything's films from his point of view, that meets an audience expectations in a satisfying way. But really doesn't, to my mind. Cover how you say it's a western or a rom-com or whatever. But that's his answer to the question of genre.
Yeah, the set of conventions, if you tropes, then, yeah, horses and stagecoaches and all the rest of it.
Tropes are kind of Pokemon.
boxes of what you're looking for. You know, I want a stagecoach. I want a rugged macho hero. I want a gunfight. Yeah, it's a western for me.
So you're very happy with Cowboys and Aliens as a western, and it's nothing else.
No,
If
it
you
can
want
be,
to
it
sit
can
for-
be multiple things at the same time.
Can it?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
In this, well, let's look at a list of different genres. This is his slide again. A whole bunch of genres. It just goes on and on. And Japan as a genre. And versus South Korea. Well, that's a different thing, don't But
So are you saying, he's saying that if it's animated, it can't be a western? Or,
I think if it sounds erudite and brilliant, I'm saying it. I can say it. But that's an exhaustive list. And here we have another list that just goes on and on.
We Western and sci-fi next door to each other, so
what's
that
a
way it works.
relationship
Oh,
thriller?
we're not on Western sci-fi crime thriller, are we? Don't you think some of the best movies are what change as the movie goes along? Dusk Till Dawn. I didn't expect that to be a vampire movie.
People know
You know.
Dusk Till Dawn.
You know, you just changed what you thought it was. Thing.
I think we should come back to Dusk Till Dawn. The arguments in my writing group about that were quite vehement, proper, shouty, pointy finger stuff. How dare they change the genre of it? I suppose you could join up your, got a bit of horror, a bit of anti-war, and it's a bit of a spoof, and draw a line, and you can do almost a fingerprint with this chart.
I suppose it's, sorry, I keep interrupting you there. I suppose it's main thrust. So it's a James Bond movie, but there's a bit of romance in it. It doesn't make it a a few jokes, it doesn't make it a rom-com.
Does it?
No, because 90% of the plot is not, is neither rom nor com.
I think the problem is that genres don't really exist. They're arbitrary categories that we make
The
up
marketing.
and can tweak and change. It's like species. Species aren't real.
Yeah.
They're human inventions to try and impose structure on nature. Genres are a human invention to try
And pigeonhole the film, yeah.
So as such, they're crap because we made them up.
Well, they are important. We're back to me. Stand by for some unnecessary animation. This is The Vodka Trail by A.A. Abbott. She is one of the members of New Street Authors. And she produces a thriller. And if you're an independent publisher, or a traditional publisher, you have to choose your category. You can choose two categories to put your book in. These categories are subdivided. So hers is an Alison category. It's thriller, subgenre is suspense, subgenre is mystery, and subgenre is food and drink.
Because of the vodka.
Because of the vodka.
Okay.
People try to
You can go further than this. Andy had his book was #1 in the historical time travel blitz category. I've missed one.
beating all of one other entry.
#1 in the field of one.
Well, you can get analyses of the various categories, and we're looking for one where people do quite well, but there aren't many other books. Not very many people like thrillers, suspense, mystery, food and drink books. Therefore, it's probably a very good category for AA to be in. But it sort of comes important because you want to find, if this is exactly the sort of book for you, what casualty are you going to look at? Do you want your James Bond mysteries or recipe halfway through?
Jake has not
So,
stood.
back to Andy. This is a complete list of film subgenres for action, adventure, of course, and worse about. But I want to draw your attention to the James Bond series. That's actually a subgenre. James Bond is a subgenre. And you think of something like Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. That's a James Bond film. It's in the subgenre of action adventure of James Bond. Got an urbane hero, gets the girl, gets involved in adventures. it has got the same feel as a James Bond film, different from other types of thrillers, different from other Hitchcocks. I'm trying to...
The Royal Flutter gets its own category because for me it sort of belongs to the Hong Kong movie genre because those were the first movies where it occurred to me that was a thing for Hong Kong and Asian movies. The Royal Flutter, a hero who becomes the friend of the anti-hero or of the person he's supposed to catch, and they die together. And everybody else dies, and lots of bullets.
So it's not just that it comes from Hong Kong. It has a definite story structure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a Western.
Just surprised that it has its own category.
Is it there? Where is it?
Yeah.
I like trying to search next place to most companies get until you can't get it.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Man v Nature seems like quite a big thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, because desert, mountain and jungle are already in there.
The fact there's a category called survival suggests that in all the others they didn't.
Or they were just tourists, you know.
It's a new genre, non-survival.
My witch.
Oh, that's found film. Found film genre.
Late, was in the late after death in Bond.
But now you see the issue. You can choose two of these for your book. So I suppose that's already saying genre is a very loose term. You're allowed to put stuff on two shelves in Waterstones. Which two do you pick? Biker and Hong Kong, for example.
When Borders still existed, John Burning, an Australian author, wrote a series called World War 2.0, the time travel thing. And Borders filed Volume 1 in crime, Volume 2 in science fiction, and Volume 3 in war. So to find the whole trilogy, I had to scour the whole bookshop.
So it's got
Including the ends all the time.
his trilogy's got quite an arc then.
Yeah, I don't think they knew what to do with it. And I was going to be pretty phone volume, it wouldn't be in cooking or kind of.
Right, I want to move on to my next slide because I can't remember what it is. Science fiction, that's just a list of science fiction subgenres. So 50 sci-fi is a category.
All by itself.
Yeah. And I think that's not just stuff made in the 50s or set in the 50s.
Retro stuff.
Well, Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's set in the modern day, but it's got 50s.
Does it also mean, oh, by the way, this is probably going to be in black and white?
But
Yeah, but it's not, they're not all in black and white. The Mars was black and white.
I would call it retro sci-fi.
The 50 song.
Retro sci-fi. You got First Man on the Moon, which is not 1950s because it's virtually Victorian, so it's retro sci-fi. Steampunk is, well, retro sci-fi, if you will.
Well, 50 sci-fi was inspired by the fears of the atomic bomb. The
Yeah,
same
and
guys
communists.
who were-
Yeah.
Yeah, the red in the bed.
Yeah.
Well, let me, because everybody's like talking and has said things that I've got slides coming up for. Yeah, Hybrids. Shaun of the Dead is a rom-com zombie horror. It's a rom-com is all the thing that Simon Pegg used to say at the time. Is he not?
Wasn't there a poster with the tagline "romantic comedy with zombies"?
Yeah.
That's it.
With a body count.
Is that a hybrid then? I think I know what that film is, and I've got a feeling I've got a slide later on about it.
Definitely got slide of that.
Let's see if that's true.
The horror and comedy has always gone hand in hand.
It's like Evil Dead. It's a horror comedy.
So, you'd have preferred Love Actually if it had had, the zombie section and the werewolf section?
Oh, I know the ones that want to get killed, definitely.
It's not that I want zombies and werewolves. It's I hate some of the tropes of romantic comedies. like these two people who spend the whole movie screaming at each other and obviously don't like each other. And then there's a deleted scene where the woman has her is replaced by a Stepford wife android, and then they get together at the end of the movie. It's a right hate rom-com.
That's the movie I want to see. That scene from every single rom-com you've ever seen. Of the laugh desperately replacing somebody with Stepford wife halfway through.
You must be disappointed in one short scene of a van with Stepford wife delivery pulling up upside the house.
Yeah. You'd have to get all the actors back, wouldn't you? Right, defining genre. According to Andy, if you're doing his course, you should do it. Your implementation of the protagonist, the antagonist, the graphic shape, the key events, event styles, time frame, tone. Got the arguments we had about tone. So let's define one of the genres. Which one should we choose? Well, Dr. Bob clearly wants to talk about rom-com. Nature of the protagonist, there are two. A male has internal conflict and goes on a journey of self-love to maturity. Not the woman, obviously. She doesn't go on any journey because she gets replaced by an android. Yeah. Not the way through. They're usually not people. The nature of the protagonist. I don't know if I agree with this. We did a lot of disagreeing. There's a certain dramatic shape to it, which is the meet, the chase, the union. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back again. And all the various permutations you can do about that. When Mark Commode was doing rom-com in his section, he started off with one of his favourites, which is Splash. Boy meets fish, boy loses fish, boy gets fish back again. And he ended up with The Shape of Water, which is girl meets fish, girl loses fish, girl gets fish back again. So you can see that these things come round again. So that's really where defining rom-com comes from. So I would go for rom-com structures, one of mine, but unnecessary. This is one of the damn things I've downloaded the internet for the structure of it, which is really boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back again. If you think about it, something else. Oh yes, here's an example. I wrote a rom-com, which was performed in a play. So it's a two-hander, and you can kind of, you've got a stage, you're looking at the stage, and two people walk on the stage at the start, a man and a woman. How's it going to end? Anybody? What's the final moment of the final scene?
One of them shoots the other. And they both live happily ever after.
One of them shoots the other. I want to go for a less funny answer.
The big I love you.
A proposal.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the proposal. What's the thing
The
that
proposition.
unites a couple and says that they're, going to be
Snog.
the snog? Thank you very much. Yeah, that was snogging. Just after that scene. Mine's about two people. One is very fat and one is very, very thin, and they both meet in the doctor's waiting room. And they see two doctors, and the doctor says to them, well, to one, you have to put on 7 stone, and to the other one, you have to lose 7 stone, change to this severe diet. But neither of them can cope. They meet in the supermarket, chance meetings occur. But they realise that there is no way that they're going to get the ideal partner because they're sort of so out of shape.
It does that.
Caused by machines. So she comes up with the idea that what they'll do is they'll move in together. He's horrified by this whole proposal by it. They'll move in together, they'll cook, and they'll shop in exactly the same way, but when we sit down to eat, they'll swap plates. And when one of them, when they both reach the ideal weight, they'll have sex. And that's their incentive to keep going with this, which is a stupid idea. And then you've got all the ramifications of that as they realise that, they've got to come to accept themselves as they are. But that's your rom-com structure. But one of our arguments that we had was genre versus tone. I heard somebody say that horror is not a genre, it's a tone. So what genre are these?
Sci-fi.
What genre is that from? Who does this?
Sci-fi horror is for me.
That's horror. I think that's horror. Because I think that's science fiction.
Action. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Feeling
Western
is different
space
for
horror.
That's very long down to that.
And I've got Shaun of the Dead. Which is
That's comedy horror. Comedy horror.
I would make a very good argument to define genre. Genuinely, the genre as genre is not a category, but a way of defining the structure of this thing. I would say that's horror. Dracula is horror. There is no explanation of why he's a vampire, a bitten by a vampire. It's not really. So the alien in Alien just turns up, does weird stuff. There's no explanation for it. It's horror. Whereas Frankenstein is arguably the first science fiction ever written because the monster has an explanation. Electricity in the dead body, it comes into life. Which at the time was the scientific theory. So aliens, you see the whole life cycle of the alien, therefore it's science fiction. It's all science fiction. And Shaun of the Dead, I would argue, is very much a rom-com. It's not a horror, it's not a comedy, the structure of it is rom-com. Boy meets girl, or has girlfriend, loses girlfriend, fights zombies, they're just an obstacle to finding love at the end. You could argue that this is actually a love story between Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
A bromance.
Because it's a love triangle, and he does end up with both of them at the end. But the structurally, I would argue that's a rom-com. But horror, I would argue, is a tone. Comedy is a tone. Maybe you would disagree with me. This is his slide. What is this really science fiction? This is one of Andy's books. Since the father, he does a touchstone series of time travel. A lot about local history. They're very good. But I argue that they are not science fiction because there is no explanation for the time travel. People develop the ability to time travel as a stone touched it, the ability to go back in time or to a different time period. Whereas hashtag, this is Andy would argue is science fiction because it takes the idea of social media just that step further. Everybody's got a device stuck in their head and they tweet all their thoughts all the time. So it's taking a technological possibility to talk about today. That's science fiction. And I would agree with Andy on that one. It's realistic, isn't it? So fantasy, science fiction. So genre and tone and others. Genre is a set of expectations. In a romantic comedy, for example, two people walk on the stage, you expect them to kiss at the end. And you'll be very cross if that doesn't happen. We did the play once for a group of students, and there's a little moment before the kiss where the argument comes back again. It's a right to tease you. Here's the kiss we've been waiting for. Now we're together. There you go. Oh, the kiss by and the tone is the way it's presented. So Alien is very much horror, is tone. Aliens is action adventure. There's a bit of comedy, and a bit of horror for that matter, in Shaun of the Dead. And science fiction is otherness. But I want to go back to Mark Canone's Secrets of Cinema. Remember I said that I didn't feel that the science fiction episode was convincing to me. And I think the reason is because science fiction is a very odd bag. So we covered all these things, and for me the most interesting was the heist one. But with the others as well, he looked at, you had this sort of graphic going on, and he looked at Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So you had them meeting the mastermind, the heist, got the team together, they planned the heist, they set about doing the heist, it went wrong, the ramifications of it. It's got a shape to it, structure. Rom-com has a structure to it. Coming of age, again, that's got a structure. Science fiction, I would argue, does not. This is Mark Kermode's look at science fiction, and what he did is he simply listed the various types of science fiction. There's one here which is robot companions. So he went through science fiction and he said, there's science fiction with spaceships, and there's science fiction with robot companions, and there's science fiction with alien invasion, or what, I can't remember which ones they were now. So he listed things. That's not really a story structure, is it? It doesn't talk about the expectations of science fiction. It's merely a list of the types of things that have been stuck on the shelf in Waterstones under science fiction. Very different way of defining a genre than looking at the heist story structure. Or a Western has a lot of ideals. You were talking about Hong Kong movies.
Yeah.
They've got a set of expectations to them, and science fiction doesn't. You're expecting otherness. Here's a guide, one of Andy's slides, a guide to various different types of science fiction. So that's the same sort of thing, approach that Mark Kermode used. Just listing various types that you've ended up with. Alien Contact is my example. Take Alien Contact as a subgenre of science fiction. You've got something like E.T. Is that an Alien Contact thing? It's very different from Contact. The structure of E.T. is not the same as the one from, yes?
Should we be calling Alien Contact part of science fiction? Because where does the science come into it? It doesn't necessarily, Alien Contact doesn't necessarily have to be science fiction, it is just fiction.
Oh.
Especially with E.T.
Don't you just hate
But
geeks?
surely isn't that... I would define E.T. as science fiction, because it's got an alien. And there's an explanation of where the alien comes from. It came in space.
But it's not a science.
E.T. more
He came in
of
a
a
spaceship.
fantasy,
But there's technology. There's a reason for him turning up.
whereas Contact is, there is science in Contact.
And they build a big isolation.
Different
It's
type of
around the hand,
science.
that's a yes.
But there is an explanation why there's an alien there. It's not like they found a goblin at the end of the garden.
I don't think that explanation is enough to change something from not science fiction to science fiction. The two time travel books you showed, so the time travel one got an hashtag. The book on the left, you say, was not science fiction because it's not explained how time travel happens as a stone. But if somebody had written one extra line and said, Professor Slunkingbot finished his time machine, which worked through radiant pulsations, that doesn't convert the rest of the book into science fiction.
I would argue it does.
Well, I would argue this. Science fiction is a genre which deals with social disruption as a result of contact with new or either actual or proposed technological changes. So you can write a science fiction novel about the introduction of gunpowder to warfare, because it's about the
Your
technological
argument
changes.
the difference between science fiction and pure science fiction.
Well, I'm trying to make my science fiction category first, because pure science fiction has to be a subset of science fiction.
Exactly. So Andy's story was fantasy. If Professor whatever does whatever, it becomes science fiction. And if the science makes sense, it then becomes pure science fiction, hard science fiction.
Yeah, but if it's proposed technology, you don't know whether it makes sense or not, so it becomes a category you can't sensibly apply except in movies.
It could just be lazy lately.
Is this the Margaret Atwood thing, where her definition of science fiction is Star Trek is science fiction because it's far future warp drives that don't actually exist. But Frankenstein isn't science fiction because the science was deemed to be plausible at the time. That's her definition, which is weird and stupid. But,
She said Handmaid's Tale was not science.
that's what she
Doesn't know
said.
what she's talking about.
Yeah, but no, but her definition is, if it's plausible stuff that exists now, it's not science fiction, it's something else. You have to have kind of like, you know, warp drive and alien battle fleets to, you know, and if you read the warp drive, nothing with warp drives in it is science fiction.
She's arguing the difference between pure science fiction and far-fetched science fiction.
Yeah, but her definition is, the reason she says her books are not science fiction is because she says, I have things like genetic engineering in them that really exist.
That's probably where I think something like speculative fiction would come in.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but isn't that just strawberry?
Yeah.
yes, she's talking about the difference between a book for weirdo geek people who meet in hotels and talk about it, and what she writes that enables her to go to parties with Chardonnay and little nibbles and talk about
People
literary
start
fiction.
bringing Chardonnay and nibbles at the party we're having at 7:30.
So we're going to see science fiction become literary fiction by the end of it.
3-year-old. For a 3-year-old.
Right, I'm going to insist that I get to the next 2 minutes. I've got Mars Attacks, which I'm going to say is different from the other two in terms of its structure, is it not?
Yes.
And finally, Star Trek First Contact is also different. But they're all contact stories. They're all, even when you sort of drill down into one of these subsets of subgenres, you get wild differences. None of those follow the same structure. I mean, they do follow the structure. They've got beginning, middle, and end. But they don't have structure, the same sort of things to it like you get in a heist or a rom-com coming of age. Oh, there were three of them. You all confused me. Making bodies up. Yeah, no. So science fiction's expectation is the unexpected, which is a very trite way of saying science fiction is good. I mean, it is, isn't it, though? We read science fiction because we want something new. We want to come across a concept we've not come across before. Our expectation, or hope, but our expectation is the unexpected. The what if? This is one of Andy's. The future SF is totally very secure. You take a single element, the world extended, or fight some small upcoming change and find someone to dramatize it and then push it to a conclusion. You were talking about pure science fiction, we don't. That would be the definition of pure science fiction. And that's Andy Conway quoting the great SF author, which is what I think on this slide. That would be my argument for science fiction. So it's coming back to his thing about conventions. That shapes his sort of intelligence and abilities and expectations in a satisfying way. I've got to my extra slide. Not quite. But does that tell you where to find something in your water stations? As a writer, you must deliver on your expectations and have the unexpected. Rom-coms are very tricky things to write, because as soon as your two actors appear on stage, everybody knows what the ending is. They know exactly what the structure is. It's the joy of watching it is when it does it in an unexpected way. This almost is what Aristotle said. Right, an ending should be something that is both inevitable and unexpected. That's the holy grail of writing. You can get an ending where people go, ah, and you've got it. It's a surprise, and then it suddenly makes sense. So science fiction is something expectations for another one. Yes, science fiction does have expectations. Expecting the unexpected is the expectations. Which way, sorry, I don't know. Coming here, I had a bit of an epiphany when I was thinking about this. Because there have been two science fiction franchises that have hit snags. And they are Star Trek Beyond and Star Wars. Star Trek Beyond was written by Simon Pegg, and I think he quit 2 or 3 times. He genuinely quit, and they had to persuade him to come back and do it. Because the producers wanted to take out all the Star Trek stuff.
Well, the physical discovery.
Yeah, if you take out all the Star Trek stuff, it's not Star Trek anymore. Star Wars The Last Jedi, I've seen an interview with the director, the producer, the writer, and Mark Hamill. And Mark Hamill was saying things like, yes, but what about the fans? And the producer was saying, no, I'm a complete break, I'm doing something completely different. Well, that's not Star Wars, is it? And I think that's why these 2 franchises have hit a real snag. Because they are not giving the fans what they expect. They're not meeting the expectations of their genre, their subgenre. Star Trek, you want a certain number of things in. A heist movie that doesn't have the heist being planned is going to feel disappointing. A rom-com where they don't kiss at the end is going to be disappointing. The coming-of-age story, if the person doesn't learn anything at the end, it's not a coming-of-age story. It doesn't work, to my mind. So a Star Trek, going right to something really specific, Star Trek has a certain set of expectations. And if you don't meet those expectations, you're going to disappoint the fans. Last Jedi, if you don't do all the Jedi stuff that you set up, well, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah?
Sorry, is that more to do with the franchise than the genre, though?
I would argue that the franchise is a subgenre in its own right. Remember James Bond films, the Hong Kong films? Star Trek is a subgenre. It is a genre. It's established itself to be such a thing. Now, The Last Jedi had Rey turn up, and there's a scene in The Force Awakens where we don't quite see her parents leaving her behind. And in The Last Jedi, the bad guy says, oh, your parents were nothing. Sorry, that's terrible. That's really appalling writing when you think about it. And it's not, as Mark Howell was afraid, you've got to keep the fans happy. I don't think it is about keeping the fans happy. I think the fans become unhappy because what you're doing is you're not being true to the material. The genre has certain expectations. The material demands a certain treatment. You have to be true to what you're doing. So the parents who left Rey on the planet are not nobodies. They are fantastic heroes who made some sort of decision to put their daughter on an alien planet. In their story, they are incredibly important. They may not be, Luke Skywalker's cousin or anything. So to just dismiss them as nobody is not being true to your material. So it's not that you're making the fans become unhappy because they perceive that you're not being true to the material. Star Trek requires a certain degree of Gene Roddenberry, the future is going to be better type of stuff.
Well, surely you'd expect the villain to downplay the importance of the family. Because in the next one, it will be how important the family is. It's a stepping stone for character development.
I mean, the whole thing is rescuable if one goes back to it and starts to say, well, if you were bad, if you did something like that, then you're being true to the material. But you do have Rey suddenly discovering how to use the Force when Luke Skywalker spent a lot of time trying to learn how to do it. So they're throwing away what made Star Wars Star Wars.
Yes, you can go the other side of the coin with like Star Trek Into Darkness, where it was feeding off itself and annoying fans because it was giving them what they wanted. It was giving them the car, it's the best one, let's do a remake and pretend it's not.
It sort of comes, to take a slight aside, if you're talking about writing to story structure, if you don't write to your beginning, middle and end story structure, you don't follow the hero's journey from travel, etc., etc., that's a entirely different how along that chapter. Imagine I've just given that and I got to the ending. If you don't follow these structural rules, then you're going to write something bad. If you don't live up to the expectations, it's going to be bad. If you follow the structural rules and you live up to the expectations, you can still write something that's bad, but you have a chance to write something good. Maybe at the back.
I was just going to say, do you think that some of this bad writing on a slightly different theme you're going into in a very intellectual way? So recently I just watched the last episode of Game of Thrones, which I really enjoyed, but my overall I thought it's feeling rushed, it's feeling sloppy, but I can see what they're just wanting to put it out there because they know that everybody's going to buy it and they're going to make a lot of money. Do you think that happens? I mean, Star Wars comes out, everybody's going to want to go and see it, everybody will buy it, everyone will pay the cinema tickets. So, get another one out this year and we'll make all this money, and so it just becomes about the franchise and making the money, and so it just gets rushed. And like you say, sort of the sloppiness of the character Rey suddenly can do all of these things, and she's not had no sort of training curve like she should have as a Jedi and things like that. But do you think that's part of it with these franchises, that they're just pushing it at the end?
Yes, I think that's entirely why. I think that the executive producers and the executive producers see it as a money-making thing and do not understand what it is they've got. And they don't trust creative people who do understand it. I mean, look at The Last Jedi, sort of shambles. I mean, it looks fantastic. I enjoyed watching it, but it was a shambles. And compare that with some of the fan films that are around, which is superb and just nailed on Star Wars. And you think, well, why on earth did they find someone who'd done one of those films and say, please, come on board and advise, or write it for us? Do you remember Thunderbirds, the live-action Thunderbirds? A brilliant idea. They had a fantastic cast for it, and then they took the Tracy brothers and chucked them on board the space station on their flight, and had the kids do things. They were trying to make Spy Kids. They bought Thunderbirds, didn't understand what Thunderbirds was, and made Spy Kids. And that's the producers.
Yeah, John Stintor, right, admitted to doing that. He was going to make a Spy Kids movie.
Yeah. So why the hell didn't make Spy Kids and keep Thunderbirds as a possibility for a live action later on?
Well, like I say, Spy Kids was a popular franchise, although it was into the ascendancy at the time. So they basically made a Spy Kids knockoff to capitalise on it.
Yeah, and it failed.
Yeah, it failed.
Because they weren't being true to the material. They weren't giving people their... You watch Thunderbirds, you want to see, Thunderbird 1 launching, you want to see Thunderbird 2 launching, you want to see a rescue happen, not kids running about on Tracy Island.
Like I say, it was Spy Kids on Tracy Island. That's all it was.
And that would be my epiphany on the way here, was this business about your expectations is what the genre is about, and true to the material that you're trying to do. I do club books, set Victorian times. My main protagonists, the women, they can be suffragettes. They can't be feminists then, because that's a very modern idea. But I have to be true to my period, true to the material. Yes?
The problem with expectation is that everybody has a different expectation. For example, I read a lot of Star Trek books when I was young, and my father was really mad because he said, why don't you read something else? You only read science fiction. And then one time I went and borrowed War of the Worlds. And my father came to me, saw that I was reading War of the Worlds, and said, oh, funny, you read some classic literature. And I said, well, of course, it's science fiction.
Your problem with that one is to say what you're only reading science fiction. That would be like saying, I only read a history book. There's history. I'm reading one period, I'm reading another period. There's no history for that. It's totally different. You read one sci-fi book, time travel, you read another one, it's an alien planet. Science fiction is a massive umbrella term for an awful lot of subjects.
Also, you're talking about structure and you're talking about story structure, but the franchises particularly have things that they need in the movie that got all to do with the story, like a giant space battle between lots of rebel fighters and, you know, Empire kind of things, and a lightsaber duel, and they're almost shoehorning that in.
Well,
and those are hideously expensive to make.
But aren't you also get a problem that no times these days if the producers say we're going to do a Star Trek, but it's unlike any other Star Trek before, it's going to be totally different. Or basically what they're saying is we're making the film we want to make, and we're sticking Star Trek in the title just to tempt a few people into watch it.
I think it's more it's the Fast and the Furious version of other things. They keep making Fast and the Furious movies, and I'm going, why the fuck are you doing Fast and Furious 9 and all that? And the answer is they're really cheap to make compared with this, because it's all actual car chases, there's no CGI, and they make enough money back, they always make a profit.
Yeah.
So they'll continue to make these until people say they don't like car chases anymore. With some of this stuff, that some of the tropes that they think the audience want are really expensive, so you sacrifice plots to shoehorn them in, because you won't, you know, the audience will sit there for a 2.5-hour movie, they will not sit there for a 4.5-hour movie, so you sacrifice plots to get to the space battle, and the car chases and the space battles are getting longer and longer and longer to try and up the ante, even though what's happening is they're getting boring. So like the Mad Max 2 had at the time the longest car chase in any movie, and it's something like 13 minutes. A 13-minute car chase is 10 a penny in James Bond, you know, and the you know the land speeder chase.
Is that Mad Max 2 or Mad Max Fury Road?
Mad Max 2 with Mel Gibson,
Yeah.
the big thing. It was sort of like 30 minutes long, and it was the, you know.
It's actually quite good.
I think it just underlines the point that they're shoehorning the merchandising in all that lightsaber battle, rather than it coming naturally out of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of the first Star Wars films, the lightsaber battle, the space battle came naturally out of the material. Same Star Trek. Mad Max, it was a road warrior movie, so it came naturally out of the material, and there was actually plot going on.
There's a lot going on in that car chase, whereas like one of the Bourne movies, the last 25 minutes of the film is just a fucking car chase, and it's really tedious.
Yeah, because it's
you know
not
what's going to happen at the end.
Because it's not come out of being true to the material, I would argue. So it's not necessarily that a long car chase is boring, but if it's just bunged in. If the script goes, let's get into our car, he said, brackets, 30-minute car chase, close brackets, they crash. That's clearly bolted in, isn't it? It's not coming from the story. It's not coming to the expectations.
It's like the big chase in the episode 4 of Planet of the Spiders. It was only put in so that we could show off his automobile time. And it is dull as hell.
Yeah, because it's not from the story, is it? You don't need a long chase from different days.
But you can do an entire film as a chase movie.
Yes, you can.
The Great Race, Monte Carlo, Bus. In terms of falling down the bottom, there's not a lot different between that and Fast and Furious. It's cars racing made to be and mishaps. One's done for comic effect, one's done for drama effect. But it justifies it because that was the whole point of that film.
Yeah. Because they're being true to the material. Once you start trying to do it for money, or because you suddenly think this is a clever idea, it doesn't come from the story, so it fails, it becomes boring, and you know it's wrong. You don't know why, you know it's not working.
I mean, you can say that with any thing, like comics. You've got superhero comics, you've got in the 80s Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, and that was a success. And then every comic in the 90s was trying to do dark and gritty because they thought that was the thing, but they missed the whole point of what that comic was about.
Yes, it was deconstructing it, wasn't it? And we get the other side of it. But you can't then take Superman and make him dark and gritty, because it doesn't work. Superman is not that sort of a
Man of Steel. I tried to make it dark.
I've come up to the end, and the raffle has to follow me. So I'll end on a final note, if I may. This is your homework. Go away with it. Take notes. I expect emails with your material by the Thursday the 30th of December and by Friday the 4th of January. Thank you all very much, and let's carry on.